A wallet tells a story whether you mean it to or not. Every transaction is a public sentence, and read in order, they either sound like a person living their crypto life or like a machine running a loop. The difference is not subtle to anyone looking, and no clever trick hides it. The honest way through is not to fake a convincing history. It is to actually have one. To use wallets for real things over real time, so the record simply reads as genuine because it is. This is about what a botted history looks like, why, and what genuine activity looks like instead. Describe plainly and defensively what a history even is. On-chain history is just the ordered list of everything a wallet has done, when it was funded, what it swapped, where it breached, what it held and for how long, which apps it touched. It is permanent and public, and anyone can read it. That is the reality every wallet lives inside. Because it is a story told in order, the shape of it matters as much as the individual actions. A thoughtful, varied record and a mechanical, repetitive one can contain the same transactions and still read completely differently to a human or a model looking at the sequence. Why botted activity is obvious. Automated activity is easy to spot because machines are consistent in ways people are not. The same action at the same interval, in the same order, across many wallets with no pauses, no mistakes, no wandering. A person exploring an app hesitates, backs out, tries the wrong thing, comes back a week later. A script does the optimal path perfectly, every time, forever. That flawless regularity is itself the fingerprint. It is not that any single transaction looks wrong. It is that the rhythm has no human noise in it, and the absence of noise is exactly what stands out. The point is not to fake noise. Here is the honest trap people fall into. Hearing that botted activity looks too clean, they try to manufacture messiness, adding fake random delays, deliberately doing things in odd orders, inventing detours. This usually backfires, because engineered randomness has its own tells and often looks stranger than a simple pattern. The real answer is not to perform humanity. It is to actually be a human using the tools. Genuine use produces genuine irregularity for free, without any effort to fake it, and it holds up because there is nothing underneath it to unravel. Genuine funding over time. It starts at funding. A real wallet does not appear fully formed the same minute as 10 siblings from one source. It gets funded when the person needs it, from wherever they happen to have funds, on its own schedule. Spreading the birth of your wallets across real time from more than one origin is not a disguise. It is just what happens when wallets are opened as they are actually needed rather than manufactured in a batch. This single habit, funding on a genuine timeline, removes the loudest signal there is before any other activity even begins. Stören happens untangle nan namfu, diapsonaban happens sitan titnam, diapson, diavanianam. One for savings that mostly sits still. One for active trading that trades. One for exploring new protocols that carries small, curious interactions. When a wallet has a real purpose, its history writes itself, and it naturally diverges from your other wallets because it is genuinely doing something different. You are not engineering difference, you are letting difference happen. That is both easier than faking it and far more durable, because the purpose is real and the record reflects it. Swaps that reflect intent. Trading activity reads as genuine when it reflects an actual reason rather than a schedule. Real trades vary in size, respond to things happening, sometimes sit idle for a while, sometimes cluster when something interesting is going on. A wallet that swaps the identical amount on a fixed cadence looks like a timer because it is one. You do not need to perform this either. If you are actually making decisions about what a wallet does, the variation shows up on its own. The tell of automation is uniformity, and genuine intent is almost never uniform. Bridging and cross-chain life. Moving assets between chains is ordinary for a real user, but it carries a pattern worth understanding. Bridging is a strong linker because it connects an origin and a destination explicitly. That is fine when it reflects genuine movement for a genuine reason. It becomes a signal when many wallets bridge the same amount along the same route at the same time, drawing parallel lines a graph loves. A real user bridges when they actually need assets elsewhere, in amounts that fit what they are doing, not in a synchronized formation across a fleet. Holding, not just churning. A detail people miss is that doing nothing is also history. Real users hold. They leave positions alone. They forget about the wallet for weeks. They let things sit. A wallet that is in constant motion, always doing the next action with no rest, looks more like a process than a person. Patience is genuinely part of a real profile. You do not have to fill every day with activity, and trying to often produces exactly the relentless, restless pattern that reads as automated. Sometimes the most human thing a wallet does is sit quietly for a while. Showing depth interaction. Using an application like a person means engaging with what it does, not just touching it to tick a box, reading the interface, trying the main feature, occasionally exploring a secondary one, sometimes abandoning a transaction after seeing the details. That texture of genuine use is hard to fake and easy to produce if you are actually using the thing. The shortcut of hitting one function repeatedly with no engagement is the pattern that gets discounted. Depth of interaction, again, beats breadth of hollow touches, the same theme that runs through all of this. Gas and settings as a fingerprint. A quiet tell lives in the mechanical settings, gas choices, transaction ordering, the exact defaults. Many wallets sharing the identical unusual gas configuration, set the same way, look coordinated even with nothing else in common. A genuine mix of real usage produces a genuine mix of settings, because different sessions and different tools and different moments simply differ. This is not something to engineer. It is something to not accidentally standardize. If every wallet runs through the exact same automated setup, they will share the exact same mechanical fingerprint. And that sameness is the signal, the reconvergence problem. Careful, varied histories can still be undone at the end if everything drains to one place. Many wallets, 10 genuine timelines, 10 real purposes, all funneling their final outputs into a single destination. And the graph draws one line connecting the whole thing. Genuine separation means the endpoints are as real as the beginnings, that funds go where they actually need to go, rather than all collapsing to one address for convenience. This echoes the earlier wallet hygiene point for a reason. The ending of the story can erase all the honest work in the middle of it. Wherein sometimes time is the real ingredient, the single most valuable thing in a genuine history is something you cannot buy or script: time. A wallet that has existed for a long while, used across many real moments, holding through ups and downs, has a depth that no burst of last-minute activity can imitate. This is why the honest strategy is also the patient one. You are not sprinting to assemble a fake past. You are simply living a real one and letting it accumulate. The operators who hold up over seasons are usually the ones who started early and let genuine time do the work. What looks botted, summarized, to make it concrete, the botted shape is this. Many wallets, funded together from one source, doing the same actions in the same order at the same times, with identical settings, never resting, all draining back to one place. Every element of that is a form of sameness. The genuine shape is the opposite. Staggered funding from varied sources, different purposes producing different activity. Human pauses and holds, varied settings, and endpoints that reflect real destinations. You do not memorize a checklist to achieve the second one. You just actually use the wallet. Why you cannot fully game this? It is worth saying plainly that none of this is a formula for invisibility. Detection improves, data accumulates, and enough analysis eventually surfaces structural patterns that genuinely exist. That is exactly why faking a history is a losing game, and having one is not. A real history has nothing to unravel because there is no fabrication underneath it, only genuine use. This is not a promise that genuine activity guarantees any outcome, because nothing here guarantees an outcome. It is simply the only approach that does not depend on staying ahead of a system that keeps getting better. The automation temptation, the biggest temptation with many wallets, is to automate the activity, to write a script that does the same useful actions across all of them at once. Resist it, or at least understand exactly what it costs. The moment your wallets run on a shared script, they inherit a shared rhythm, identical actions at identical intervals with identical settings, which is the precise pattern that reads as coordinated. The labor you saved shows up as a signal you did not want. Genuine activity is slower and more manual by nature, and that slowness is not a flaw. It is part of what makes a history look real. If the only way you can maintain your number of wallets is to automate them into one pattern, that is a sign you are running more than you can genuinely use. Small amounts, real decisions. An underrated point is that genuine activity does not require large sums. Real users do small things constantly. A modest swap here, a small position there, an idle stretch in between. A history full of tiny, real decisions reads as far more human than a fleet of wallets each doing one large, identical, optimal move. The size and variety of what you do carries as much signal as the frequency of it. Thinking in terms of what an actual person with an actual reason would do, at the scale they would really do it, keeps the record honest without any effort to perform. The amounts can be small. What matters is that the decisions behind them are genuinely real. The honest takeaway, the goal was never a convincing disguise, it was a genuine record. Fund wallets on a real timeline from real sources. Give each one an actual purpose and let it do that purpose. Allow holds and pauses and the occasional mistake. Keep settings varied by simply not standardizing them. Let endpoints be as real as beginnings. And above all, let time accumulate. Do those things and the history reads as genuine to anyone looking, for the simple reason that it is genuine, which is the only version of this that ages well. The fuller framework, the specific habits I actually use, and the tools that make genuine multi-wallet activity manageable, without turning into a script, are written up at airdropfarming.org, with no hype and no promises about any token or drop. Subscribe if you want the ops view, real activity explained defensively and honestly, and none of the guaranteed riches talk. Next time we step off the chain entirely and look at the signals that link wallets from the outside, the IP, the device, the browser, and how someone with honest reasons to run more than one keeps those from tying together by accident.